Apparel is one of the most unique category from the ERP lenses. So, which are the ERP systems designed for apparel manufacturing? That's what we are going to discuss in this video. So, let's dive in. Hello everyone, my name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, ERP selection, change management, and on that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is going to be your top manufacturing ERP systems in 2024. This is the new list that we have launched for this year. Overall, how do we define the apparel manufacturing bucket? And this is going to be any of the apparel categories, such as your designer clothes, uniforms, undergarments, formal, casual, sports. All of these may have their own nuances as well. But for the most part, this is the overarching bucket for the apparel manufacturing. You might still need to dig deeper into any of these specific categories, whether the processes that you require in each of these specific categories are going to be a right fit. And each of these systems, even on this list, are going to be designed for very specific categories. So do some research there, but hopefully this can provide you a long list in shortlisting some of the solutions for your apparel manufacturing ERP needs. The criteria that we use to compile this list is the product share, the acquisition strategy focused on apparel category. If this is going to be a system that is acquiring this is going to be a company that is acquiring a lot of different capabilities from the apparel perspective. They are really committed in this category. They are very well adopted in the apparel ecosystem. Then those solutions generally rank higher on this list. The product roadmap, community, ecosystem, win rate, technology, strategies. So these are some of the variables that we use to compile this list. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is FDM4 Product. And this is a very small product designed for apparel-centric processes. For the most part, it is going to be a fit for companies that are outgrowing QuickBooks, and they are going to be on budget. So for the most part, the benefit that you are going to get from FDM4 is the team is going to be actually more committed in helping you with your processes. In general, you don't require additional consulting firm. With FDM4, let's say work with any of the private equity company or the larger companies that might be selling an ERP, they might not provide as much hand-holding that you might get with FDM4 in general. The strengths that you are looking at from the FDM4 perspective, it is going to provide you very tailored experience that is going to be very relevant from the apparel perspective. For example, even the way your order entry is for your apparel manufacturing category is very different compared to any of the other industries, and enabling that, tailoring that inside any other ERP systems might be challenging. Also, if you utilize an add-on, for example, let's say if you are going to utilize either Microsoft Dynamics, Business Central, or Netsuite, or AITA, all of these products are going to have some of the add-ons tailored for apparel category. But if the underlying data model does not support the tailored processes, then they might run into challenges. Also, these add-ons might not be as well adopted, as well documented, coded compared to your the core product. So you might still run into the challenges. That's where dealing with one vendor, one product might be slightly easier transition for you. So the other strengths that you're looking at from the FDM4 perspective is the whole matrix order entry. When you look at entering, for example, with respect to when you enter any sort of cases, or you are going to enter any specific color or size, and you need competition to be impacted because of that, these are very different relationships that might be harder to support with the core ERP data model. Also, you have integration with your color palettes. Now, that could be a very interesting integration. Sometimes you require integration with your PLM or the designer tools. For example, let's say you have Adobe Photoshop or the Illustrator that your designers might be using to design, and they might be pushing these things to your ERP. Sometimes those integrations could be trickier as well. And those are the things that you are going to get with your tailored products in general. So the other strength that you're looking at from the FDM4 perspective is it's probably going to be easier implementation as well as cheaper overall from the cost perspective. So if cost is one of the biggest factor for you, then this could be a great product. The limitations that you are going to run into with FDM4 is the technology is clunky. The technology is not as modern. They just don't have as many R&D dollars to be able to innovate, to be able to catch up with some of the bigger vendors. So the technology is going to be inferior. It's not as cloud native. You might struggle with the mobile capabilities as well. In FDM4, primarily a distribution software, even though they have some manufacturing capabilities as well, but they are adopted in the distribution category. And apparel manufacturing and distribution, they are far different. The kind of supply chain collaboration that you are going to require for your manufacturing is very different. So just because a product is well adopted in the distribution category does not mean that it's going to be a fit for the manufacturing. So you might want to evaluate that. Overall, the scalability is going to be a challenge. If you have very simplified business model, you are plain vanilla apparel manufacturer, then it might be okay. But if you have complex business model, or if you are very active in M&A, you are acquiring many different capabilities, and you are rolling that as part of your business model, that's where you are going to run into issues with your FDM4 product. So that's number 10. Number 9 on our list is Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. And this is going to be for companies that are going to be in locations where your prescriptive products might not be present, and you require a product that is going to be localized and supported in those geographies. This is going to be a special challenge in some of the Eastern European countries or South America or Asian countries. In those countries, some of the prescriptive products might not be supported, or you might have a lot of mom and pop products that might be there. But for the most part, if you're looking for slightly more global product that is going to be supported in many different geographies, and you are looking for that operational as well as financial consolidation as part of the same product, that's where your Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central might be handy. But then you are going to be using a very thick add-on on top of it to be able to support your apparel processes. So the quality of that add-on, how well that is adopted, how well that is coded and documented, will dictate whether you are going to be successful with this product or not. So the strengths that you're looking at from the Business Central perspective is the core ERP layers are going to be strong. The ecosystem is very strong, and it is well adopted among apparel brands. The limitations that you are going to run into is the suite capabilities, and some of these suite capabilities are very involved, very embedded. For example, let's say PLM, as well as your merchandising planning, all of those solutions are going to be very intertwined, embedded with your core capabilities. So if they are coming from your third party, sometimes you might run into challenges, especially if the core product does not expose all of those ERP layers that these vendors are going to require. So even if their solutions is going to be a great fit, and if Microsoft does not support that, then also you might run into challenges. So in this particular case, you have far more vendor risk, implementation risk in general, because you're dealing with many different moving parts as part of your solution. Then your implementation is likely to be very expensive as well, just because, again, you're dealing with many different vendors, many different parties, and it requires far mature internal IT organization to be able to figure out that architecture that is going to be required, even though you are dealing with everybody inside Microsoft. But even then, you would require that to be successful with this product. So that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is Odoo. And Odoo is going to be for companies that are looking for easier product, easier to implement product, companies that are outgrowing from QuickBooks, or they might relate with Odoo a little bit. Odoo product is designed, it has many different apps, and each of those apps are going to have its own database. So you are not going to get the same consolidation experience that you might find with the other ERP products in general. So that's the real drawback with Odoo, even though they are going to claim themselves as more of the ERP product. And yes, they are going to be able to communicate among those modules, but their products are not going to be as tightly integrated from the data model perspective, from the database perspective. So you are not going to get the same traceability that you are going to find with some of the other ERP products. But again, that also increases your implementation budget, implementation complexity when you have to convert your siloed data model into one data model, and you have to make your teams operate on one data model. Typically, that's a very heavy lift for organizations if they have not operated on one data model traditionally. So the strengths that you're looking at from the Odoo perspective is it is well adopted among apparel brands just because they do really well in the commerce space. They also have the very strong CRM component that is included as part of Odoo. The ecosystem is very strong as well. So that's where Odoo is really strong. It's also very diverse, so you can support many different business models, many different localizations, countries, etc., as part of the same product. So that's a huge benefit with Odoo. And the matrix functionality as part of the core inventory layer is supported as part of the core product. So at least that is not going to be a challenge. Some of the limitations that you are looking at from the Odoo perspective is a visual order entry that is going to be required with the apparel companies. That might be much heavier lift to be able to customize, to be able to build on top of Odoo. And if you're going to find an add-on that needs to be done really well, it should be adopted among these apparel companies. Odoo does not have as many logos. They might have some logos in the smaller apparel companies, primarily in the retail distribution space. They might not be as well adopted in the apparel manufacturing space because that gets slightly more complex. Really, that's number 8. Number 7 on our list is Acumatica. Acumatica is ideal for smaller apparel companies that might be outgrowing either QuickBooks or Odoo or Zoho. Those are the systems that they might be using before, and now they are looking for one data model for all of their departments that can operate in more of the integrated manner, consolidated manner. But with Acumatica, you are not going to get a global consolidation from the and operational perspective. You might not be able to explore as many global synergies just because Acumatica is designed for very smaller companies. The other strength that you're looking at from the Acumatica's perspective is the ecosystem has many different apparel centric solutions. For example, PLM, you are going to find those merchandising planning, e-commerce brands are present in Acumatica's ecosystem. So sometimes you might be able to find pre-baked integration that might work as is for your processes. Obviously, you need to evaluate all of those to make sure that they are going to work for your data, for your processes, but still you might get at least something, in their ecosystem. The underlying CPQ layers can allow the customer and vendor, as well as the customer quoting processes, and the customer quoting processes and the vendor quoting process. They're unique in the apparel space. So you want to make sure that the data model is going to support all those processes. And then the core ERP layers are going to be strong, whether you look for processes such as your warehouse processes, even if you're going to use a specialized WMS, but it should have all of the data model supported that it is going to require to be able to communicate with the ERP layers. So that's where Acumatica is going to be really strong. The limitations that you are going to run into with Acumatica is the color and style-based order entry might be a heavier lift. For the most part, you are probably using an add-on to be able to do that. That might not be as intuitive, especially if the core data model does not support those integrations. But for the most part, you are going to find some add-ons that are going to be able to do that in the Acumatica ecosystem. In general, you are dealing with a lot of different add-ons, many different vendors. So your implementation is going to be very expensive. It might be very risky. And then your global consolidation capabilities are going to be low. So that's number 7. Number 6 on our list is Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O. And F&O is a very generalized product in general. It is designed for companies that might be present in geographies where they might not find prescriptive products on this list. So for those industries, especially if you're looking for that global operational consolidation of many different business models, many different business processes across geographies, that's when your Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O is going to be a great fit. The strengths that you have with the FNO product is the add-ons that you are going to find in the FNO ecosystem. They are very well adopted. They are going to have as many installations as with some of the apparel-centric products. For example, let's say if you look at products within your FTN portfolio, they might have 1,000 installations. This add-on may have 1,000 installations as well. So this is probably going to be as good as your the product getting from your OEM or the software publisher. So that's a huge plus, for Microsoft Dynamics 365 FNO, and the underlying ERP layers that you are going to have. For the most part, they are designed to support many different business models. So so you are not going to run into as many challenges. The whole model is very customizable in general. So again, it's far more flexibility to support these add-ons, etc. The limitations that you are going to run into with FNO product is the last mile capabilities are again through your third-party vendors. So you are looking at very expensive, risky implementation. You require that mature internal IT or to be able to figure out the architecture, to be able to evaluate these integration points, etc. So those are going to be some of the limitations, and that's number 6. The 5 on our list is SAP S4 HANA, and this is very similar product as your Microsoft Dynamics 365 FNO, designed for slightly more generalized use cases to support many different business models across geographies. Again, SAP S4 HANA and FNO, when you compare these two products, SAP S4 HANA does really well in the large space. FNO is not as proven among those companies. They are not going to have as many logos, but they are going to have far deeper operational capabilities supported as part of their cloud version. S4 HANA at this point of time does not have those capabilities as part of their cloud version. They are far more mature with their on-prem version. But the cloud version has come a long way. So now they have far more capability. Then the add-ons and the ecosystem is going to be very different in the cloud space as well. The richer add-ons that were there that could support these processes in the on-prem world, they might not have upgraded their capabilities for the cloud version. So you really need to read between the lines in terms of what kind of demo you are seeing and where those capabilities are supported, because they could be make or break for your implementation. The other strengths that you're looking at from the S4 perspective is the ERP layers for complex organizations. The suite capabilities that you are going to get are going to be great for that best of breed architecture, but they are not going to be as tailored for your apparel-centric organization. For those, you are still relying on third-party vendors and the solutions to be able to complete the solution. A diversity of the solution supporting many different discrete process manufacturing-centric processes. For the most part, the apparel manufacturers tend to be in the textile business, but they might have the process manufacturing capabilities as well that they require. If they have a chemical process that they are incorporating as part of their manufacturing process, for that, they might require those capabilities. And then global compliance and localization is a huge benefit with S4. The other limitations that you are going to run into with S4 is the, since all of these capabilities very thick add-ons are coming from your third-party vendors. So you have the vendor risk, implementation risk, then your implementation is going to be riskier, requires far more mature internal IT org, etc. So that's number 5. The 4 on our list is Oracle Cloud ERP. Again, it's a very similar product as your SAP S4 HANA, designed for global install base. It is going to be for your publicly traded companies, which require far deeper financial compliance capabilities as part of the solution, financial traceability across the globe. That's when your Oracle Cloud ERP is going to be a better fit. The strengths with Oracle Cloud ERP architecture is you are going to get far more components overall from the retail focus perspective. In general, with apparel manufacturing, the kind of process that apparel-centric businesses have, they are going to be far more intertwined with your merchandising, planning, warehouse procurement processes, design processes. All of these are going to be fairly intertwined, and that's why you have solutions such as your Blue Yonder, Manhattan, very well penetrated in these spaces. And the only role that ERP is going to play is really for your financial reporting, etc. But for manufacturing, it's slightly different, because for manufacturing, you are going to require the cost accounting, MRP, etc. And that is going to be far busier. And that's where those solutions might not be as great fit. For those, you would require a real ERP solution that can do all of that. But generally, the apparel business models are very complex. They are going to have the retail distribution components, etc. They are going to have their own physical stores. So their supply chain planning is going to be very complex. So Oracle Cloud ERP architecture supports a lot of that. It is designed for retail-focused architecture. The CX solution, the supply chain solution is very different as well. It takes a very different perspective from the retail perspective. Then you are also going to have things such as your workforce scheduling. That is generally included as part of your HCM portfolio. That is going to be included as part of your Oracle Cloud ERP. Generally, it's very different scheduling or the comp planning in your apparel-centric industries. So that's where your Oracle Cloud ERP is going to be a great fit. The limitations that you're going to run into with Oracle Cloud ERP is the core last mile capabilities are probably going to be through your third-party vendors, especially when you look at scenarios where you are doing your order entry, whether from customer perspective or from the vendor perspective. Also, your implementation is probably going to be expensive because you are dealing with many different vendors, many different add-ons, and then you would require far deeper architectural expertise, internal IT maturity, etc. So that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Apparel ERP. So this is going to be for very small apparel manufacturing companies that are going to be on a limited budget, and they are looking for a tailored suite. As part of the suite, they want all of these solutions pre-integrated, pre-baked, so that they don't have to do this themselves. So for the most part, the strengths that you are looking at from the Apparel ERP perspective is that number 1, you are going to have very tailored order entry, very tailored planning processes that are going to be tailored and flavored for your apparel-centric businesses. The PLM process is very different. The merchandising, planning, WMS, TMS, all of those are very unique in the apparel-centric industry. So you are going to get all of those pre-configured as part of your Apparel ERP. The limitations that you are going to run into with this particular case is, for example, let's say if you have a favorite tool, either design tool or your PLM tool that you would like to utilize with Aptean, that's where you will run into issues because you are not going to find as many integrations or pre-baked integrations, as many consultants who have the subject matter expertise to be able to integrate. And sometimes these partial scenarios could be far more expensive than getting something like Netsuite or the other ERP systems if your preference is going to be to bring all of those best of breed components and then integrate with Aptean. So these systems, the best strategy is going to be take everything, replace everything that you have, including your PLM, TMS, WMS. That could be far cheaper, far easier, but that could also be a bigger change management problem. Let's say if some departments are not willing to move from their tools, that could be a huge challenge for the company. So the other limitations that you are going to run into with Aptean Apparel ERP is that it's not as diverse to support many different business models. For the most part, the apparel business models, they are not as diverse in general. They are probably going to be very focused in the apparel categories. They are going to be launching many different new products, but for the most part, they are not going to be all over the place with their business model. For example, they are not going to be selling any of the apparel machinery, but let's say if you have that, then you are probably going to run into issues with this ERP because it's not necessarily designed for that. And then as with any other prescriptive products, the ecosystem is going to be limited, consulting base is going to be limited. All. So that's number 3. Now, number 2 on our list is NetSuite. And NetSuite is ideal for apparel SMBs that are going to be globally present, and they are not going to be as large as requiring solutions such as your SAP S/4HANA or Oracle Cloud ERP. One of the advantages that you have with NetSuite is for very diverse business models. So, for example, let's say if you have many different business models or business transactions that you need to support, then your NetSuite could be a great fit. Now, NetSuite is not going to have core capabilities to be able to support your apparel manufacturing scenarios, or they are not going to have the data model that is going to be tailored or flavored for your apparel-centric business processes. But one of the advantages that you have with NetSuite is the vendors that are hanging out in the NetSuite ecosystem. They are very well adopted among your apparel category. The ISV, the PLMs, the TMS, the WMS, all of those do really, really well. So you are getting as good product as as done by your software publisher. So this is very similar as your Microsoft Dynamics 365 F&O, where you have a lot more penetration from the NetSuite perspective. And these, even though NetSuite is not going to be as strong from manufacturing perspective, but these add-ons are really good at that, and that's what makes NetSuite a great fit for apparel companies. The data model, especially the one that you are going to require for apparel manufacturing, it's not as involved as complex for other complex manufacturing. That's why NetSuite is a great fit for apparel manufacturing. And the limitations that you are going to run into with NetSuite is the complex apparel manufacturing capabilities, the shop floor scheduling, etc. You are relying on a very thick add-on, and then you are going to have a lot more add-ons. So in general, your implementation is going to be risky. You have a lot more moving parts, a lot more vendors. You have implementation risk. It's probably going to be more expensive. So those are some of the risks. And then you require the internal IT expertise, even with NetSuite, and the operational capabilities are going to be fairly limited in general with NetSuite. But having said that, NetSuite is a great fit for apparel manufacturing, and that's why it is number 2 on our list. Now, number 1 on our list is InforCloud Suite M3, and it is designed for those global apparel companies. It has all of those flavored processes, and the suite is very tailored for the apparel-centric companies as well. And again, tailoring that suite is very complex, very challenging with the other products. The strengths that you are looking at from the InforCloud Suite M3 perspective is that you are going to get the core ERP capabilities. The data model is going to be tailored and flavored for apparel manufacturing, but you also have Suite, whether you talk about PLM, WMS, TMS, merchandising, planning, all of that is going to be part of the same solution from the same vendor. So that is going to reduce your implementation budget just because these capabilities are proven. And Infor M3 Cloud Suite M3 is one of the most adopted among apparel manufacturing companies. So that has been proven on many different times. So that's why it is a great fit for those companies. The other advantage with InforCloud Suite M3 compared to your Aptean, which would be the right comparison for from the capabilities perspective, here you are going to get far more extensibility to be able to extend the product. The Aptean product is going to be far limited in terms of its data model, in terms of what you might be able to do with the product, just because it's a very rigid suite designed for very, very small companies. If you have the extensibility, your implementation dollars are going to be far more because you need to invest a lot more in configuring this particular product. So again, InforCloud Suite M3 is designed for slightly larger companies. The limitations that you are going to run into with M3 is not as diverse. So if your business model and transactions are going to require many different processes, for example, let's say if you have a discrete business model as part of your apparel manufacturing, then you might run into issues. And this might not be the best fit for apparel companies that are going to be below $250 million revenue, and ecosystem and consulting base is going to be fairly limited as well. So that's number 1. So that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this, then we are going to include the link of a detailed article that's going to have far deeper insights. So check that out. Also, this podcast is available in the audio form on Apple and Spotify. So subscribe there. We publish these videos on a weekly basis. So like and subscribe on YouTube. Also, if you have not checked our digital transformation report, we compile these insights on an annual basis and publish that report. So we are going to include the link of that as well. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.